But honestly, Kim, your referrals come over so well educated in franchising, and that makes our job easier as we think about a brand match.
Welcome back to the Daily Coach YouTube channel. Today, I have a very good friend of mine, a very special guest to welcome to the show. Her name is Carey Gille, and she is the president of an amazing franchise consulting company called Franchise FastLane. Carey Gille, welcome to the Daily Coach YouTube channel.
Thank you, Kim. So good to be here. So good to be here.
I'm so excited to talk to you today. Your company solves a really big problem in franchising. And this problem is there are a lot of entrepreneurs who turn their business into a franchise because they love the idea of using other people's money, or they love the idea of being a franchisor and helping other people start a business using their proven business plan. But said entrepreneurs don't always have the depth of experience in knowledge and understanding in how to build and support, to build a franchise and support franchisees. And that's where your company comes in to really sort of save the day and like bring that value to the franchisor so that they don't implode after they've awarded 50 or 100 franchisees. So today we want to talk a little bit to candidates who are listening to this video about, well, what's the value? What value does that bring to me, a person thinking about a franchise, but also potentially to entrepreneurs who may be watching this, thinking about turning their business into a franchise? How would you benefit them? So I think it's a twofold conversation. But before I let you talk, I just want to say a little bit more about you. So Franchise FastLane, viewers, Franchise FastLane is an amazing company, one of my top companies to work with. They represent so many of my very favorite brands. And do you know why they're my favorite brands? They're my favorite brands because of exactly the value proposition that Carey's going to share with you. So we'll get to that. But Franchise FastLane has been recognized 2 consecutive years by Entrepreneur Magazine as one of the top 5 franchise consulting companies in the world. And Carey just told me before we hit record that they've awarded over 2,500
Crazy,
territories.
isn't it? Wow. Yes.
Since 2017. So with that massive setup, Carey Gille, let's have you tell our audience a little bit about the value proposition to both candidates and entrepreneurs that Franchise FastLane would offer.
Of course. First of all, I just think your question is so on point. It is so important. Pioneering brands that have great innovative ideas, but then they're led by a team that doesn't have the experience or the systems is a complete letdown to the franchisee. That's why we're talking about this today. I mean, we might as well just name the brand, Gille or Daily Fitness or Gille or Daily Tacos or whatever, because it leaves them in the case of a startup. That's what they're left with. It negates all the value that franchising brings. And this is why you and I love franchising so much. It's why it's our end game industry. We love where we play. And it's such a shame because when franchising is done right, it accomplishes what is my favorite word in the Webster's dictionary. And you've heard me talk about this before, so let me be repetitive. But my favorite word in all of Webster's dictionary is vision. And the way that vision is defined is as a clear and compelling picture of a preferable future. Yesterday, I was asked by my financial advisor, I just happened to be meeting with her yesterday, Carey, on a scale of 1 to 5, what is your degree of risk, right? And I don't know why she always asks me. I guess she thinks someday it's going to change. But think about that when you think about starting companies. Those that are truly out there every day in startup America, they are high on that scale. They have a high appetite for risk. They're sitting at a 5, right? Those that are in their 18th year at corporate America, they're lower on that scale. And I've done both. I started in startup America. I sold a company, sat in corporate America. When I found franchising, I went, whoa, this brings this and this. This is vision for everyone, not just the visionary. You've got that preferable future, that ability to own your own business and live the American dream, but it's married with a plan, a proven path of performance, the clear and compelling picture. It's both. Franchising can bring vision to anyone. And we have a core value at Franchise FastLane, which is to inspire life change. And if you can find the right brands that do have that extraordinary idea, that are the next big thing, but then make sure they also have the support systems and the leadership and all of that, we can be out there changing lives through business ownership, but they have to have both. So your question's right. And that's what we strive to do at Franchise FastLane, is deliver vision through franchising.
When I'm talking to my candidates, it's always, most people come to the idea of owning a franchise focused on the widget, like
Yeah.
what they know or a hobby or what what they think they're
Yes.
going to enjoy owning.
Yes.
And so I'm always sort of unraveling that to the point of, no, when you invest in a
Yep.
franchise, it's all about people.
It is.
You are investing in leadership.
Yep.
And so Carey's company is going out there and finding not just widgets that have a disruptive, space or have like a trend that you can jump onto, but they have leadership that can has a vision that wants to build a brand. And then Carey brings the experience and knowledge of how to build a strong franchise brand to those entrepreneurs. And then you have this wonderful marriage that allows stronger franchise companies to emerge. That's why, as a consultant, all of the companies you represent are, I mean, some of my favorite brands, because I'm not in it for the widgets.
Right.
Like, the widgets didn't keep doors open in 2020. Leaders that could adapt, that could overcome, that could not just physically help franchisees, but emotionally help franchisees, their investors, get out of that fetal position of, oh my God, what are we going to do with our business when we can't physically be open, and help them to physically get open or help them to adapt to an online portal version of what they do. And so it's the relationship with the people that I'm always infinitely focused on. And Carey and Franchise Fastlane have brought some of the most amazing people to me. I mean, I've done some pretty good damage with a lot of those 2,500 territories. I wish we knew how many of them Kim Daly has represented with her candidates, because it's kind of a lot.
It is so true, especially in 2020. I love that you bring that up. It was a year where franchising could bring hope to people who were right at the edge of their comfort zone, but you could only do that with the right brands. In 2020 alone, I talked to 160 brands, Kim, 160, to bring on 7. And why? Because of exactly what you were saying. When I would ask a founder, what is it? What's your business? Just start by telling me what it is you do. I can almost walk away from the phone because they are so passionate about whatever it is they do, their haircuts or their food or their fitness or their rental space or whatever. They can't wait to tell me more and more and more and more. But if I take it further and I say, okay, but let's talk about your systems, your support, your training, your technology, your financial strength to support the growth that we might usher in, even your plan to drive growth. Who's going to carry the flag of your brand into markets across the US? How are you going to find that person? It's crickets, right? It's crickets. And the problem is, without this in place, even if they were to somehow stumble on growth without Kim and without Carey, which is very challenging, it would kill their brand. It would kill their brand if they're not ready. If your franchise system needs A+ players to grow, quite honestly, you're not a very strong franchise system. That's a great way to start. Let's get the first 4 to 5 open with A+ players. But if you need that, then you don't have a strong playbook. You need marketing strategy to be so well defined that we could bring in B players that have good experience and they can see success through your franchise system. So I agree. It's a problem. It's such a problem that we went as a leadership team and we created 2 lists at the end of 2020 and we talked to 160 brands to find 7. How do we find the right brands and help them? And we created this list of necessities. Like, these things have to be in a place before a brand is ready for the fast lane, or franchisees are going to be let down. And then niceties. And now we don't even consider a brand unless it checks every box over here and hopefully has a sprinkling over here, which means sometimes I'm talking to a brand for nearly a year before we launch it in the fast lane.
Wow.
Yep.
Don't you love that FastLane, guys? When you hear that, don't you just know immediately what they do to brands? They put them in the fast lane, and it
Mhm.
is so true.
Mhm.
Some of the brands that we have had some really
Mhm.
fun, magical success with, like Smash My Trash. I
On the
mean,
run.
there's a company that, people aren't really going to pick off of Entrepreneur 500 on their
Right.
own. It sort of needs a consultant to tell its story.
For sure.
But then you put it in front of consultants, and what happened to that brand in like how much time?
It was probably 20 months, 530 territories. Insane. And Kim,
Wait a second. 20 months, 530 territories. Hey, entrepreneurs
yes,
out there who want to have a franchise. Are you kidding me?
yes,
That is the fast lane,
that
but
is the
that's
fast
the
lane.
power. And has the company imploded?
It is not imploded. It has not, the founder on this one, Justin Haskin, is such an impressive, he's an engineer by trade. And we called him regularly. We met every quarter. He kept up on manufacturing the trucks. Almost every franchisee has their first territory open. It's doing very well. And of course, it was a big multi territory play. To your point, it doesn't have to be a business. I mean, insulation, Koala Insulation right now is one of our top brands. It's blowing insulation. It's not about always the brand being something that's enticing. It's about an opportunity to be a business owner and help people, improve their home or impact their community. Whether it's Premier Martial Arts with kids martial arts where no kid sits the bench, or blowing insulation. Either way, somebody gets to come in and they get to own a business that helps people live their lives.
Yeah, it's so great. And
Hmm.
all of these businesses that Carey mentions, like not one of the owners, the franchisees that
Right.
say yes, come to the table with experience in
Hmm.
trash or
No.
insulation or martial arts.
Right.
Believe me, that little martial arts thing is one of that's a Kim Daly personal fave,
Mhm.
right? I mean,
That's a
I'm
good
showing
one.
that I just territory checked it this morning,
Oh,
actually, out in
good.
Washington,
I
D.C.
hope it was
Um,
open.
it's open
Yeah,
and registered in Washington.
good.
And so, but people, when I'm presenting that brand, that one specifically, people trip over,
Yeah.
that, but I don't know anything about martial
Yes,
arts. And I'm like, did I say you have to
you
know anything
don't.
about martial arts? I
Mhm.
have this consultant. He's a business consultant with a very, very big firm that if I said you would know the name of it, down in Houston, Texas. And he was looking he's an investor in real estate, but looking to diversify his portfolio into business investments, but needed something that was really hands off, semi absentee, a small team of people. So he didn't have a lot of, employee headaches to manage, looking for, reasonable hours of operation. And he definitely wanted something that was more community focused because in his work job, his, W-2 job, it's more global business. And so I showed him this little Premier Martial Arts thing, and I'm like, hey, I know what you're going to say before you say it, but just in Kim Daly terms, it's go on the blind date. Don't say no, just go on the date. And he really put up a lot of resistance, and mainly because he was tripping over, I don't know anything about that. So I finally got him to go on the blind date. And of course, because you have an amazing developer behind the brand who can help to set the stage and tell the story and pull people in, right? Because listen, everybody who's listening to this video, you're not alone if you're working with a consultant and you're thinking that I don't like these concepts this person's showing me. And like that's like one of the things people start like going from consultant to consultant to consultant, thinking that if I just meet the right one who says the right brand, then I'm going to find the right business. And save yourself the trouble, because the consultant you're working with, if they have experience and they're well recognized in the industry, they're probably showing you the best brands for you on their first go around, right? Because we're not matching to the widget. Long story short, on this candidate, after the second date, this guy who barely would go on the
Wouldn't even
first
look at
date
it. Mhm.
called me and said, I can't believe that when he went through the unit economics, when he saw the
Yeah,
money to be made, and he
incredible.
kind of was starting to put together the community aspects, the limited hours of operation, the small
Yes.
team, he said, I can't believe I'm going to tell you this, but I'm bringing my brother in, and this is what I want to do. I don't want to look at any other
Mhm.
business. They ended up doing a 7-store deal.
Wow.
Like, that's the power of
Wow.
keeping an open mind, guys,
Yes.
and working with great brands like
Yeah.
Franchise FastLane can bring to Kim Daly.
Yes. Premier Martial
And so,
Arts
from
is,
the consultant perspective, the value proposition that Franchise
yep.
FastLane offers to me is comfort that these pioneering brands have what it takes to not implode, because I'm referral driven. I want the people that I place in business to go on and live the life of their dreams. I don't want to just put somebody into a business and be like, oh, too bad your franchise failed. No, how would I do what I do with integrity for 19 years? And Carey and Franchise FastLane, the entire team of 30 people, they allow me to do what I do with more integrity. That's why we love them. And that is the advantage to you, the viewer that is the potential candidate thinking about owning a franchise. These franchise consulting companies add tremendous value, not just to Kim Daly and my process, but to your process as well as a candidate.
Hmm. Yes, absolutely. You talked about Premier Martial Arts, and that's a good example of a brand where Brent will tell you, my developer, you said the incredible developer you have on that one. He is
Sima.
amazing. And he will tell you almost every time he talks to somebody, he is the bottom of the list. They said, I took this one because my consultant said I need to talk to you. Ugh. But then when he gets to show them the vision and how they're going to impact community and what this means for kids who are struggling with obesity and gaming addictions and all of these things, and then the financial opportunity and the amazing leadership behind the
Can't
brand.
overlook those.
They go, whoa. Another one I think of, Kim, is Brothers That Just Do Gutters, another brand we just launched. This one is so unique, and you go, gutters? How can
Gutters.
that be? Really? Brothers That Just
But everybody needs a gutter. Let's face it.
Everybody needs a gutter. And the culture, these brothers, it truly is brothers. The name is what it is. It truly is brothers. These brothers have created a culture of franchisees that love what they do. And I plugged in with them and we worked hard. And I looked at the FDD and went, let's work on this. Can we look at how your franchisees are performing? They have a 24-page item 19, performa after performa of franchisees that want to share their financials just to show people we're doing gutters. That's what we're doing. But we are literally changing lives through business ownership. One of them went on a missions trip to Kenya. Not kidding. One of the brothers went on a missions trip to Kenya and met an individual and just created a strong relationship with him. And he said, I'm going to come to the US eventually and I want to work for you. So he did. He came to the US. He worked for Brothers That Just Do Gutters, saved his money. They worked out an arrangement. He became a franchisee, and now he is one of their most successful locations.
Oh
And
my
those are the
God.
kinds of stories it's gutters, Kim. It's gutters.
It's never about gutters. It's never about trash. It's never about martial arts.
No,
It's always about
it is.
people,
That's what it's about.
dreams, and how you started this
Mhm.
conversation, vision.
Yes,
That's where the entire thing begins.
for sure.
How did you get the vision for Franchise Fastlane?
Oh, thank you for that question. I graduated and I knew right away I wanted to be an entrepreneur. And so I got involved in a few different startups. And one was this little tool that valued items people gave to charity, the clothing. We're always giving garbage bags of stuff to charity, but we never actually define the value and we just take that minimum deduction. And so we found this tool, and this was when software was sold in a box in Best Buy. I know I just aged myself, but this is when. And we wrote the software tool, and we had no marketing budget. So I wrote a press release and started sending it around to local media. And they started inviting me as a spokesperson to talk about the product, especially during tax season, because it was a win-win. Be more generous, benefit those less fortunate, benefit yourself with the required tax break. And so that we started getting some attention. So probably because I was too young and naive to know better or be intimidated, I sent it to the Wall Street Journal. And this is that Super Bowl commercial story. We had sold a few hundred. It hit the front page without any warning. They ran it on the front page of the Wall Street Journal right above the fold. I was 24. I'd been filing my own taxes maybe 2 years. And all of a sudden, I was quoted on the front page of the Wall Street Journal. And I lived in New York the next 2 years. CNN.
I didn't know this story about you. This is amazing.
All of this national spokesperson, and pretty soon H&R Block called and said, we would like to tie your tool in tax cut. H&R and Intuit, Scott Cook said, no, we'll buy you. So at 25, I sold my first company. So if you can imagine that, all I'd done was startup. And then I land in corporate America, which of course, once you sell a company, you have to agree to stay for a while. And that was so good for me in my career because I feel now as I develop brands, I talk to somebody who's been in corporate America for 20, 30 years, and I understand. I understand the benefits. Their resources were so impressive and their strategy and boy, the way they make decisions guided by the voice of the customer, it was amazing. But if you're entrepreneurial, it's also a hard place to sit. And so when my time was up, I heard of Ryan Zink, and he had this brand called Complete Nutrition. You and I both love fitness. It was a fitness brand, it was a franchising brand. We had lunch. I said, I love development. I love fitness. I don't know franchising. And he's, come in, you'll learn it. Fell in love with it. And it's because of where I started this call. It was, wow, if I sit right here, I get the best of what I loved about startup, but I'm not on my own. But I get the best of building a vision and a dream. But I also get the best of corporate America, resources, a marketing plan, leadership. I don't have to write marketing copy and legalese all myself. There's resources back at that home office. And I just went, this is business ownership. This is business ownership for everybody, not just the startup visionary. And so I haven't turned back. You know, we built Complete Nutrition. He sold it in 2015. I bought 3 Complete Nutritions, a couple Snap Fitness gyms, fell in love with it as a Z, fell in love with it as a Zor, fell in love with it from a development perspective. And after he sold the brand, I just knew franchising is where I belonged. So called him and said, I need to get back in the game. And he said, I'm already working on a business plan. Are you? I said, yes, I am. So we started we started Franchise FastLane in 2017. We didn't sign our first brand until the fall of that year. So we've only been at it for 4 years. But I love, you know, Kim, you've been there when you lay your head on your pillow at night and go, I love what I do. Every
Yeah.
day I help people find business ownership. It might be in gutters, it might be in martial arts, it might be in smashing garbage. It doesn't matter. Every day I talk to people who have been in corporate America their whole lives, and they're working with consultants like you who have given them a vision for something different, and I get to show them a brand that excites them. And it's so
It's so
rewarding.
great. It's so great. And you are not just changing their lives, but you've
Mhm.
changed my life. I mean, you
I
enable me to do
As have
what
you.
I do at a with much more integrity, and just you make my job easier because
Mhm.
again, you're bringing us brands that are so vetted and are so in a position because nobody really wants to be the first franchisee,
Right.
that pioneer, but a lot of people love the idea of a first to market
For
advantage,
sure.
which in many markets of the country means a
It
pioneering brand.
does.
And so, with Franchise Fastlane behind that pioneering brand, it is the best of everything for the candidate and for Kim Daly. So, thank you so much. Thank you for sharing that story. I had
I
never heard
can't
that
believe we
story.
hadn't had that discussion.
No, we did not. That
Wow.
is an amazing,
Yeah.
amazing story. Guys, this is what you get in
Mhm.
franchising. It's not what people think. And
Right.
I know what people think because I've been doing this for 19 years and, business in a box and sort of looking down. But
Yes.
there are some amazing people behind franchise brands. And all of us that are here with a heart to help change people's lives, your life, if you're the one watching this with the dream to own a franchise. You heard her say it multiple times today. The average person, you don't have to be the CEO. You can be, but you don't have to be coming to the table to know that you can become a top performer, not when you're partnered with the right franchisor with the right toolbox. If this conversation has inspired you and you are an entrepreneur who has the dream to turn your business into a franchise, we are going to leave Carey Gille's contact information in the description below. I highly encourage you to reach out. Let's see if you can be one of the 7 out of the 160, or
Mhm.
at least learn what it takes to get into that small group.
Hard to break.
That's a challenge to you entrepreneurs out there.
Yeah.
And for those candidates who this conversation has inspired to just say, this is my time, franchising could be the right investment for me. This break from my W-2 world, breaking free from corporate America, living the life of your dreams rather than somebody else's dreams, then I want to meet you. I have access to all of the amazing brands at Franchise Fastlane, and I want the opportunity to qualify you, to understand your vision before I just match you to trash
Yeah.
or martial arts or
Mhm.
insulation or any of the other
Yeah.
unsexy brands that are some of the sexiest places to be in franchising,
Oh, I
gutters.
love it.
So if you are interested, absolutely the link to contact me will also be in the description. If you've enjoyed this video, do not forget to like and subscribe and ring that bell because the Daily Coach is putting out so much content every week and you don't want to miss one video. This is
Mhm.
the best place to be in franchising right here at Kim Daly TV or the Daily Coach YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your time and attention. Carey, thank you for joining my show today. You are a blessing to me and now to everybody who watched this video.
I just love being here, Kim. Thank you so much for having me. And you said thank you to me, but honestly, Kim, your referrals come over so well educated in franchising. They understand that, and that makes our job easier as we think about a brand match. So I encourage everybody watching, do watch Kim, do get to know Kim and listen to the expertise she brings, because you will understand what is franchising by the time you're exploring a brand.
That's awesome. Thank you for that.
Of course. Of
All right,
course.
guys, until next time, I am Kim Daly, your daily coach.